Action!
Okay, so brother for everyone. Today we will be discussing the lipid metabolism. Lipid metabolism, which refers to how our body processes and releases fats. Lipid metabolism includes the digestion of fats from the food field, their absorption in the enzymes, their transport to the blood, and how our cells store or break them down for energy. So, lipid metabolism is a process of breaking down and synthesizing fats for energy production and cell function. It includes glycolysis, deoxidation, hydrolysis, and glycogenesis, which regulates how fats are stored and used. Lipids provide high energy form cell membranes and help in hormone synthesis and balances contribute to obesity, fatty liver, and acidosis. Now, this topic is important because lipids do not only provide long-term energy, but they also help build cell membranes to produce hormones. Understanding how lipids are metabolized helps us see why imbalances can lead to health problems such as obesity, high cholesterol, and heart disease.
Now, as we all know, lipid metabolism is what Delmo described. And the first step to lipid metabolism is the mobilization of these fatty acids as well as its transport. So, when we eat food that is rich in lipids, it is digested in our small intestine. So, specifically, where it happens is the small intestine. And what happens is the triglycerides from the fats that we eat is broken down by, is operated by enzymes, mainly the lipase and colipase, and one factor is the bile salts. And these are important in the process of digestion of these lipids, mainly the lipase. The lipase comes from our pancreas, and this pancreatic lipase hydrolyzes triglycerides to monosaccharides and free fatty acids. But it is also inhibited by bile salts. So what helps this prevention of inhibition is the colipase. Colipase attaches to the surface of the non-catalytic lipase, which helps the function of the lipase, which hydrolyzes these triglycerides. And after the triglyceride is hydrolyzed to monosaccharides and free fatty acids, it is emulsified by bile salts. And as we all know, emulsification is a process wherein lipids are mixed with an organic solvent, and this emulsion creates a small droplet of what we call micelles. So the end product of this digestion is a small droplet called micelles. And these micelles will not receive to absorption and resterification, and where it happens is in our small intestines, or specifically the intestinal mucosal cells, which are enterocytes. So what happens is that the micelles diffuses into the enterocytes, and these inside the cell, the fatty acids and the monoglycerides are formed back into triglycerides via resterification. And these triglycerides will combine with other molecules such as cholesterol, lipoproteins, apolipoproteins, and phospholipids. These are attached to these micelles to create chylomicrons. And specifically, what cell inside, what organelle in our cell does this is our Golgi apparatus. Now, these formations or these attachments of additional molecules creates what we call chylomicrons, which are very important in the absorption of these into our body. So next. So what happens then is the transport of these lipids, specifically the chylomicrons. What happens is that chylomicrons are secreted into our lymphatic capillary vessels, specifically our lacteals. And these lacteals will then disseminate these chylomicrons into our bloodstream, spreading all the bodies and deliver triglycerides into the muscles and adipose tissues. So the key enzyme that is important in this process is the lipoprotein lipase. And when it enters our bloodstream, there is a lipoprotein lipase which is anchored on the capillary endothelium, meaning it is outside of our capillaries, stationed there to break down these triglycerides again into free fatty acids and one glycerol. These will then the free fatty acids will then proceed to the tissues for oxidation or storage. The glycerol will then return to the liver for gluconeogenesis, as the previous discussed, or glycolysis, and finally, the chylomicron remnants will be taken up again by the liver for recyclation, and again, and the process of lipid transport undergo this transport of lipids. So basically, here is the diagram of which the lipids enter our cells into the lymphatic capillary. So from the outside, we eat our food, which is virgin fats, lipids, and all such things are emulsified by the bile to mix together, and then these lipases inside our pancreatic lipases will hydrolyze the triglycerides into free fatty acids and one monoglycerides to form micelles. These fatty acids or monoglycerides are packaged in the Golgi apparatus or packaged in one droplet called micelles, and will be diffused in the microvilli. And as we all know, the microvilli increases the surface of absorption of our cells. And these microvilli will then absorb this micelles and will interact with our Golgi apparatus to attach these aggregates, which are cholesterol, lipoproteins, phospholipids, as well as apolipoproteins to form chylomicrons. And these chylomicrons will be diffused into the membrane and into the capillary and lymphatic capillary and will move throughout our body. So, after it is moved inside or towards the lymphatic membranes or the lymphatic capillaries, it will be stored in adipose tissue. This is where the storage of lipids happen, adipose tissue. So what happens is that the fatty acids that is destroyed from, or rather, which is hydrolyzed by the lipase, previous slide please, by the lipase, the lipoprotein lipase in our capillaries, it will then, in the adipose tissue will then have these fatty acids and monoglycerides to be esterified with glycerol 3-phosphate. And as we all know, glycerol serves as a backbone for our triglycerides. And these glycerol 3-phosphate will connect three free fatty acids to form triglycerides for long-term storage. And insulin promotes or helps with this production. As we all know, insulin increases the uptake of glucose in our blood, which then increases more glucose to come out of our blood, and the body will switch to a storage of fat operation. So what happens is that increasing glucose uptake provides glycerol 3-phosphate, meaning may backbone na ang free fatty acids na, and then will synthesize triglycerides, as well as activate enzyme for fatty acid synthesis, which is acetyl coenzyme A carboxylase and triglyceride formation. Now, after these triglycerides are formed, it will then undergo again a breakdown of these triglycerides via lipolysis, which is the mobilization of the stored fats from the previous operation. So, lipolysis happens when we are fasting, when we are stressed, or we are doing something kind of exercise. And what happens is that, as we know, there are two hormones responsible for regulating our blood glucose levels, which is glucagon and insulin. Now, glucagon and epinephrine will activate the hormone-sensitive lipase kasi pwede ba naghalin siya sa adipose tissue ta. And these adipose tissue will esterify these free fatty acids. And what happens is there is lipolysis in our adipose tissue and will trigger hormone-sensitive lipase. Again, lipase, diba, is really important in hydrolyzing triglycerides or lipids in general. And in our adipose tissue, these triglycerides will turn into glycerol and free fatty acids. The fatty acids will then bind to the albumin in the blood and are transported to energy-demanding tissues such as our liver, muscle, and heart. So the end product of this process is a free fatty acids that is ready for oxidation and a glycerol for gluconeogenesis, or again, the production of glucose. So let's move on to the next part of the system, which is the first part of the mobilization of fatty acids. So after na break down the triglycerides into glycerol and free fatty acids, the free fatty acids will then move to the fatty acid activation and oxidation, or specifically beta oxidation. So where it happens is in our mitochondrial cells. So diba, animal tissue breaking down into from triglycerides to monoglycerol to free fatty acids and glycerol. It will then go into the mitochondria of the cells, especially in our liver and our muscles. So the first step to this is it is activated, or the free fatty acids will interact with the enzyme called acyl coenzyme synthetase, and this is found on the outer mitochondrial membrane. So, di ba, ang synthetase, yan ang ginagawa is it attaches another molecule to another molecule to form a specific reaction. So, maybe this reaction will charge, in this process, the reaction will charge the fatty acid. Okay, diba? Again, fatty acid from the previous glycolysis and will be activated or oxidized in this process in the mitochondria. And the reaction will cause as follows. The fatty acid. The fatty acid is the coenzyme A plus the ATP will result in a fatty acid coenzyme A and AMP and pyrophosphate. Meaning, the ATP from the previous reaction is reduced into adenosine monophosphate into phosphate molecules, or specifically an inorganic phosphate. And what happens is that the fatty acid connected to the coenzyme A and form fatty acid coenzyme. So this step will charge the fatty acid, being ready for the carnitine shuttle system. Next. So what happens is that the charged fatty acids will go into will be transported into the mitochondria via the carnitine shuttle. And take note, long fatty acid chain cannot go into the mitochondrial membrane, meaning kinailangan niya the form of transport para makalusot. So specifically, more than 14 carbon chains, or equal to 14 carbon chains, cannot enter the inner mitochondrial membrane. So it requires a transport shuttle, specifically the carnitine transport shuttle, to pass through the inner mitochondrial membrane. So this process includes three enzymes. Two that is identical to each other, and one that is separate. So it requires the CPT1 as well as the CACT. So CPT1, or the carnitine palmitoyl transferase 1, is responsible for transferring the acyl group from the coenzyme to carnitine. So more on that later, but I will explain the other two enzymes. So the CPT2 is the carnitine palmitoyl transferase that is found on the opposite side of the palmitoyl transferase 1. So the other is found in the outer membrane, and the other is found in the innermost membrane. And in between them is the CACT, which is the carnitine transferase, which helps the movement of new molecules inside and outside of the membrane. So what does the carnitine palmitoyl transferase do? Please, Embile, Tanuri, the first step, which is the CPT1.
It transfers acyl group from coenzyme to carnitine to forms acylcarnitine, and it is located on outer mitochondrial membrane and is inhibited by malonyl.
So as Embile said, it is what transfers the acid group from the coenzyme into carnitine. So basically, di ba ginamit ng fatty acid coenzyme? So what happens is that CPT1 removes this CoAsh, or the coenzyme A, and replaces it with carnitine. And this carnitine will be able to pass through the first enzyme, which is the carnitine palmitoyl transferase 1, and will proceed to CACT, which is the carnitine acid carnitine transferase. So what happens is that this CPT1 is also vulnerable to inhibitors such as the malonyl coenzyme A, which is the really important in regulating the amount of fatty acids that go into our mitochondria. So it regulates basically the fatty acids that goes inside our mitochondria. So it is located in the mitochondrial membrane, and then the process continues. So CACT, or the carnitine acid carnitine transferase, will then interact with this change or transition fatty acyl carnitine and will make it so that there will be an exchange in between, wherein from the inner membrane there is a free carnitine and the outer membrane, the fatty acyl carnitine, will exchange with each other. So the free carnitine will go outside, the acyl carnitine, fatty acyl carnitine will go inside of the membrane. So basically, it exchanges acyl carnitine in with free carnitine out across the inner membrane, and this is where the process of CPD2 happens. So CPD2 is what transfers the acyl group back to coenzyme A and regenerates the fatty acyl CoA in the matrix. So diba, previously fatty acyl carnitine ang natabo siya, and when it interacts with the enzyme CPD2, it will change it back to fatty acyl coenzyme. So it removes the carnitine and makes it so that it is a free carnitine and replaces it with another coenzyme coenzyme ash. So it is located in the anterior mitochondrial membrane. After this, the fatty acyl CoAsh is ready for beta oxidation. So the beta oxidation proper is in the matrix of the mitochondria, and what happens is that the fatty acyl CoAsh undergoes repeated cycles of oxidation, hydration, and oxidation as well as glycolysis to yield these important substances, which are the acyl CoAsh that is used or enters again, as the previous group discussed, enters in our Krebs cycle or the ECH cycle to produce enters the Krebs cycle or the ketone synthesis in the liver, as well as it produces the NADH and FADH, which is responsible for the production of ATP in the electron transport chain for ATP production. So next, so here is the basic diagram of this carnitine shuttle. So from the outside, ang charged tong fatty acid here will interact with the CPD1. This CPD1 will remove the CoAsh and replace it with the carnitine. This carnitine will make or form the fatty acid carnitine, and the carnitine acyl carnitine translocase will make an exchange inside and out of the membrane. So the free carnitine from the inside will go out, and the fatty acid carnitine will go inside. And as it goes inside, the fatty acid carnitine will interact with CP2 and remove the carnitine for it to become free carnitine and attach another coenzyme A to become fatty acid coenzyme A, which is ready for beta oxidation. And as it beta oxidizes, it removes the fatty acid group and makes it acetyl CoAsh. This part is not really important, but it is important in creating another acetyl carnitine. So this process for the carnitine shuttle system is important in helping us provide more energy for the transport, the electron transport chain, as well as readying the acetyl CoAsh for beta oxidation. Now, that is really important in the lipid metabolism. So let's move on to what happens to the beta oxidation process. Now, let us introduce Luke Ferraro for explaining beta oxidation. Thank you.
Okay, so it seems that everyone is tired, so I will describe effectively how beta oxidation happens. First of all, why do we need to understand beta oxidation? Beta oxidation is the metabolic pathway that breaks down fatty acids in the mitochondria. So basically, you're going to think, where does beta oxidation happen? It happens in the mitochondria. What is the purpose of beta oxidation? To break down fatty acids into acyl CoA, which can be used in the Krebs cycle. So first of all, it is a first step cyclical process, meaning it has 4 steps. These 4 steps are essential in breaking down that fatty acyl CoA. And remember, fatty acyl CoA is the activated fatty acid that was activated during the carnitine shuttle transport. So the first step to this process is dehydrogenation. So dehydrogenation, an enzyme named acyl CoA dehydrogenase removes 2 hydrogens from the alpha and beta carbon. So let me explain effectively what are these alpha and beta carbons.
As you can see in the picture, we have the beta carbon more to the right, the alpha carbon more to the left. So acyl COA dehydrogenase, an enzyme itself dehydrogenase. From the name itself, it dehydrates. It removes a hydrogen atom from a certain molecule. In this case, we have a fatty acyl CoA molecule. So acyl CoA dehydrogenase uses FAD, flavin adenine dinucleotide, as its cofactor. So flavin adenine dinucleotide is reduced to FADH2. Why does it get reduced to FADH2? Because it removes the two hydrogen groups from the alpha and beta carbon. So this process releases FADH2 and trans delta 2 enoyl CoA. So trans delta 2 enoyl CoA gets hydrated, or in the process called hydration, which is the second step of delta oxidation. So one molecule is added across the double bond. So as we explained in the dehydrogenation process, because the two bonds of hydrogen from the beta and alpha carbon have been removed, this creates a double bond between the alpha and the beta. So basically, hydration adds a water molecule, and the name for this molecule is enoyl CoA hydratase. From the word itself, hydratase, it adds a water molecule. So what happens is that a water molecule is added across the double bond. Where can you find the double bond? Between the alpha and beta carbon. So this produces 3L-hydroxyacyl CoA. As you can see, this is where the water molecule went. I want you to look at the picture. So this is the double bond between alpha and beta carbon, here. And we have two hydrogen atoms, up and down. So what happens is that oxygen is added at the bottom of the beta carbon, which creates a hydroxyl group at the bottom. And at the top, we have another hydrogen atom coming from here. So what happens is that a hydroxyl group is added, which is very important in the next process. So we have the third step, which is oxidation. So the hydroxyl group, as I mentioned, the hydroxyl group is found in the beta carbon. So what happens to the hydroxyl group? It gets oxidized. So once it gets oxidized, it turns into a ketone. And a second molecule of NADH is produced. As we recall, NAD is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. It is used by the enzyme 3-hydroxyacyl CoA as its cofactor. So NAD is going to be reduced to NADH plus H because it removes the two hydrogen molecules from 3L-hydroxyacyl CoA. What happens now is that this hydroxyl group gets oxidized to a ketone. Again, what is a ketone? As we remembered in biochemistry, a ketone group is a single carbon molecule having a double bond with another oxygen molecule. Oxygen atom, not a molecule. So what happens now is that it turns into beta-ketoacyl CoA. It was called beta because oxygen is found at the beta part of the carbon. We say beta up, right? So that's what it's called beta. Keto, meaning ketone, acyl, meaning this alcohol. So what happens now is that it gets cleaved in the fourth process, which is known as thiolysis. So an enzyme named B-ketothiolase cleaves the molecule, releasing two carbon units. What are these two carbon units? These are the fatty acyl CoA and the acetyl CoA. So what does B-ketothiolase use in this process? It uses CoASH. So a new shorter fatty acyl CoA molecule can enter the cycle again. So this fatty acyl molecule, 2 carbons short, will enter again the beta oxidation until it gets reduced to acetyl CoA. Acetyl CoA is then used in the process called Krebs cycle. So that is all for beta oxidation. Thank you.
Today, everyone, I'll be discussing the energy yield and regulation part of lipid metabolism. Lipids or fats are the body's most energy-rich molecules, and they act as our long-term energy storage, kind of like the body's power bank. Now, in comparison to other macromolecules like carbohydrates or proteins, lipids are Glutamic acid is a 60-carbon fatty acid, and once they undergo beta oxidation, they produce acetyl-CoA, an ADH, and an ADH. Now, acetyl-CoA, there are 8 of them, and NADH and FADH, there are 7 each. Now, each acetyl-CoA produces 10 ATP. Each NADH produces 2.5 ATP, and each FADH produces 1.5 ATP. So, all in all, one fatty acid produces 108 ATP. So, in comparison to other macromolecules, like let's say carbohydrates, one glucose molecule only produces 32 ATP. So that's 3 times more ATP in comparison to carbohydrates. Now for the regulation part, our hormones are the ones that regulates our lipids. Now specifically there are 3: epinephrine, insulin, and glucagon. Now when we are fasting or exercising, the ones that are working when it comes to our metabolism are glucagon and epinephrine. Now, if we are like taking in food, the ones that are working are insulin. Now, this is the reason why lipids in comparison to other macromolecules, as I mentioned, like proteins and carbohydrates, are much more long-term and produces more energy, like babies.
So, right afternoon everyone. Today I will discuss about ketone body formation, also known as ketogenesis. So, this topic is about how our liver produces ketone bodies, which is a special molecule that act as a backup fuel when our body doesn't have enough glucose or sugar for energy. So, let's start with the meaning of ketogenesis. So, it is the process that happens inside the liver mitochondria where fat is converted into ketone bodies. So normally, our main energy source is glucose, which comes from carbohydrates like rice, bread, or sugar. But when glucose is not enough, like when you are fasting or on a low-carb diet or you have uncontrolled diabetes, your body starts to use fat as an energy source. So ketone bodies are important alternative fuels, especially for the brain, heart, and muscles. During long fasting or low sugar levels, these ketones supply energy so the body can continue working. And remember, the liver makes ketones, but it doesn't use them. Instead, it sends them through the blood to other organs that need energy. Example, if you haven't eaten all day, your brain still works because it uses beta-hydroxybutyrate and acetoacetate as energy instead of sugar. Now, let's talk about how ketones are made. So, it starts when fatty acids enter the liver and undergo beta-oxidation to form acetyl-coenzyme A. So, isa-isa na. May tuwa ka acetyl-coenzyme A na makombine para makaform sa acetyl-coenzyme A. And ang acetyl-coenzyme A nga inin, may ma-join na din nga isa ka acetyl-coenzyme A para ma-form sa HMG-coenzyme A, or also known as the 3-hydroxy-3-methylglutaryl-coenzyme A. And ang HMG-coenzyme A, mas split ni sila para ma-form sa acetoacetate. And ang acetoacetate nga ini will be then converted into beta-hydroxybutyrate, which is the main energy ketone, and acetone, which is the waste product released in the breath. So, para mas ma-intindihan natin, as you can see, this is the hepatic ketogenesis, where the fatty acids comes in from body fat, and they are broken down into acetyl-coenzyme A. And if there's too much acetyl-coenzyme A, the liver turns it into ketone bodies through enzymes. And ang ketone bodies nga hydroxybutyrate dehydrogenase 1. And ang acetoacetate naman will convert into acetoacetyl coenzyme A. And ang acetyl coenzyme A naman will turn into 2-acetyl coenzyme A. And these 2-acetyl coenzyme A enter the Krebs cycle to make ATP. Now, i-connect natin siya sa Krebs cycle, or also known as the citric acid cycle. This cycle is the main energy pathway that happens inside the mitochondria of our cell. So, ang purpose niya is to produce ATP, which is the energy currency of our body. And when ketones are used by the brain or muscles, they are burned back into acetyl coenzyme A and then enters the Krebs cycle. And finally, it produces ATP, carbon dioxide, and water. So, to summarize everything up, ketogenesis happens in the liver mitochondria when glucose is low. Fatty acids are broken down into acetyl coenzyme A, then converted into ketone bodies, which is the acetoacetate, beta-hydroxybutyrate, and acetone. And these ketones travel in the blood and serve as energy for the brain, heart, and muscles. The Krebs cycle uses acetyl coenzyme A from ketones to make ATP, which is the body's main energy. And the process is controlled by enzymes like myolase, HMB coenzyme A synthase, HMB coenzyme lydase, beta-hydroxydehydrogenase 1, and SCAP. And for the next topic, it will be reported by Amar.
So good day everyone. So today I'll be talking about ketone body utilization, an important metabolic process that helps our body produce and use alternative energy, especially when glucose is in short supply. Medyo same lang siya sa report ni Ira, which is the ketogenesis, galing aray mas ka-focus into the main ketone bodies, which is the B-hydroxybutyrate, the acetoacetate, and the acetone. So first, what is the B-hydroxybutyrate or the beta-hydroxybutyrate? It is the most abundant ketone in the blood. Ang gining atong tanda, it is the most abundant ketone in the blood, formed from acetoacetate, which is the primary fuel for the brain and muscles when glucose is low. Next is the acetoacetate. This is the first ketone body formed by the liver. It can be used directly for energy or converted into other ketones. Next is acetone. As you can see, acetone is not used but is exhaled. It is a small ketone produced from acetoacetate. Unlike the other two, the acetone cannot be used for energy and is mostly excreted through the breath and urine. This explains the woody odor often noticed during ketosis or diabetic ketoacidosis. So when it happens, of course, during fasting, starvation, low-carb diets, or uncontrolled diabetes, just like sa report nila kaina, nga kung wala ka intake na food, of course, wala glucose, kag wala man energy na ma-produce. So, what is the purpose of this ketone body utilization? It provides an efficient energy source from fat-derived ketones. Of course, an alternative efficient energy source from fat-derived ketones, especially for the brain, heart, skeletal muscle, and kidney. So the location of where ketone body utilization happens is in the liver mitochondria of extrahepatic regions or outside. Extrahepatic means hepa means liver and extra means outside. So it means it is outside of the liver. So let's look at how the body uses these ketones for energy. First, ketone bodies are water soluble, so they travel through the bloodstreams to organs like the brain, heart, and skeletal muscles, which is number one, transport and uptake. Ketone bodies are released by the liver into the blood, taken up passively by extrahepatic tissues, but liver cannot use ketone bodies due to the lack of enzyme, which is the thiopurase, or also known the B-hydroxybutyrate, the hydrogenase converts BHP or the beta-hydroxybutyrate back into acetoacetate. So, kaya wala kaming word marker, gamit ko na lang ang paper. Awagin niyo siya ang the B-hydroxybutyrate. Here. Then, kaya diba, dehydrogenase means removes hydrogen. So, giwaan siya hydrogen, dire, for it to be formed into acetoacetate. With the use, of course, the enzyme is the dehydrogenase. Step 2 is the acetoacetate to acetoacetal-CoA. So, the enzyme we use, same lang man sila nga steps, but different enzymes used kag process na use sa enzymes. So, for the step 2 to acetoacetate into acetoacetal-CoA, we use the enzyme transferase. Of course, we all know that transferase is an enzyme that transfers one molecule to another. So, the succinyl coenzyme is being transferred to the last carbon for it to make into acetoacetal-CoA. So, the liver, of course, as what I have said, liver likes thiophrases, that's why it can't use ketones. Next step is the acetoacetal-CoA to acetyl-CoA. And we use the enzyme thiolase. So the enzyme thiolase is an enzyme that split two molecules, or specifically, it split the two acetyl-CoA. Then, this acetyl coenzyme molecules enter the 3CA cycle to generate ATP. In short, a ketone body utilization is the process of converting ketones into acetyl-CoA for ATP production. So, understanding ketone body utilization is important, not only for physiology, but also for clinical situations, like may explain mo na later, fasting, ketogenic diets, and diabetic ketoacidosis. Ketone metabolism highlights the body's incredible flexibility in generating energy when glucose is scarce. Alright, so I will be the last reporter for this afternoon. So, the sigon pa niya siya, no? So, I will be summarizing and integrating our report, which is lipid metabolism. The sigon pa niya, para maka-wrap up na ta, maka-practice ng event, of course, maka-pulman, no? So, there are 3 core processes in terms of lipid metabolism. So, of course, immobilization, also known as, everybody read? Lipolysis. Very good. Ano na siya ganito? What? So, syempre, before ng mobilization, kailangan ta na i-digest and transport ang aton niya triglycerides. So, aton niya pancreatic lipase, i-break down niya sa triglycerides into monoglycerides or free fatty acids. So, arat na, na-digest na sa. Next, store na siya. In order to store our free fatty acids, need niya i-convert into triglycerides. So, balik naman siya triglycerides, no? To mobilize it or to use lipolysis, ano na siya, no? It is when our body ma-starve siya. It's whenever mag-fasting ta, exercise, or under stress kita. So, our body will produce 2 hormones such as glucagon and epinephrine. I-trigger yan na into activating our hormone-sensitive lipase to break down our triglycerides back to free fatty acids. That way, magamit siya sa gawas. Next, tapos ang mobilization. Dito na sa oxidation or beta oxidation as discussed by Mr. Luke Ferraro, no? So, ano na siya? Dito na matutupa, mga atong free fatty acids, need na siya i-charge into fatty acyl-CoA. Since long chain siya, hindi siya kasulod sa aton mitochondrial matrix. Dito na katabo ang beta oxidation. So, need na sa anay nga purpurol. So, we need specialized shuttles, such as the carnitine shuttle. Siya naman pasulod sa kay free fatty acids, masulod siya sa kay mitochondrial matrix. Dito na katabo si beta oxidation. There are 4 steps of beta oxidation: dehydrogenation, hydration, oxidation, and thiolysis. So in that process, ma-remove na siya 2 ka carbon units. So, ma-produce sa maximum amounts of acetyl-CoA. Alongside with that, maproduce man sa NADH and FADH2. And lastly, pagkatapos na beta oxidation, ketogenesis na kita. Ano na sa ketogenesis? It is when the body is scarce of glucose. Ano ang scarce? Low. So, madetect sa tunawas nga low ta sa glucose, it is forced to cannibalize itself. That way, mabuhay lang ta. Okay? So, beta oxidation floods the liver with acetyl-CoA. So, ang sobra niya siya nga acetyl-CoA, convert niya siya into ketone bodies. Ano nga yung tatlo ka ketone bodies? Acetoacetate, beta-hydroxybutyrate, and acetone. So, these ketone bodies are used or converted into energy and then used by our extra hepatic tissues, atong brain, heart, and atong muscles. Next, let us move on to clinical relevance. Nga, agad pala, as a nurse, need na understand ang lipid metabolism, no? So the complexity of lipid metabolism underscores its critical role in health. And of course, such imbalances can also lead to serious conditions such as obesity, fatty liver, and of course, the infamous ketoacidosis. So in relation of clinical relevance, may atay example ng isa condition, which is the diabetic ketoacidosis. So ano na siya? Ang diabetic ketoacidosis is when there are low levels of insulin or sometimes wala din insulin, so absent. Di ba, ang insulin gabulig sa atong glucose nga mag-enter sa cell. So kung wala ng insulin, hindi makasulod atong glucose sa cell. Ano gani ang glucose? It is our primary source of energy. So hindi na sa kasulod sa atong cell. Manong lawas, ma-confuse siya, ma-panic. Our body is both creative and resourceful, but sometimes that resourcefulness produces byproducts that are unhealthy for our body. No? So, na-resourceful ang lawas. Maano siya? Kanon niya iya kagalingon. Paon niya tanan niya fats, i-convert niya into energy. But again, sa ketogenesis, if ma-convert kita fats into energy, may mga excess ketone bodies. And if there is a large accumulated amount of ketone bodies, ma-cause na siya hyperketoacidosis. So, ma-acidic atong dugo, ma-low ang atong nga blood pH. So, to further understand, let's go back a little bit to our normal physiology and ang physiology sa lawas may diabetic ketoacidosis. So, normally, may ata insulin. Maalaw ang glucose na mag-enter sa cell. Pero, dili sa DKA, very low kung wala na yung insulin. So, glucose na nag-enter sa cell. In terms of main energy source naman, glucose. This is our primary energy, no? From heart. Siyempre din sa DKA, wala kita glucose. Simo niya is mag-got energy from fatty acids. And then in terms of beta oxidation activity, normal lang ito sa normal metabolism. So, balance with glucose metabolism. May bulig siya, mag-produce energy. Pero siyempre kay DKA, wala siya bulig. Dila sa tanan makuha sa kay fats. So, ma-increase yung aton nga fat production. Ay, ang aton nga fat burning process. So, in terms of ketone body production, low lang ito. Kasi syempre, may akong glucose. Dili kay DKA, very high. There is a lot of excess acetyl-CoA or overproduction of ketones. And lastly, blood glucose level. Syempre dire, normal lang. Kaya gaalaw ang glucose mag-enter sa cell. Pero syempre kay DKA, very high siya. Kaya aton nga glucose, stay lang siya sa aton nga bloodstream and malibot-libot ng ladasa and ma-hyperglycemic kita. And then let's go proceed to our key takeaways. Pinakalas nga. Okay.
Thank you.
Key takeaways. Miss Cheska, can you please read number 1? Lipids are most?
Lipids are the most efficient long-term energy source, providing a 9 kilocalories per gram compared to 4 kilocalories per gram per carb and protein.
Very good. Next, Mr. Catalano, can you read number 2, please?
The primary energy product of beta oxidation is acetylcholine, which enters the citric acid cycle to produce.
Mr. Ralph, can you please read number 3?
Ketone bodies are the acetoacetate and beta-hydroxybutyrate are an alternative fat-derived fuel for extra hepatic tissues, especially the brain, during glucose scarcity.
And lastly, number 4, Mr. Chela, can you please read?
DKA is the direct result